give that a second to get going. Okay, so that's started. It's 12:05. I'd like to hand it over to our presenters, and they can introduce themselves and talk more about Citizen Science Day. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rebecca. This is Darlene Cavalier from SciStarter, and I'm on the board of the Citizen Science Association. It's so exciting to see so many familiar names over there in the chat box, and also some new names as well. Before I get started, I'm going to give the team a chance to give a brief introduction of themselves. And who wants to go first? Leila?
So hi everyone, my name is Leila Higgins. I work at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. I was one of the organizers for the Citizen Science Association conference in 2016, and a bit of an advisor for this coming up conference, and looking forward to hopefully meeting some of you in person there.
Hi, I'm Catherine Hoffman. I'm the Managing Director of SciStarter, and I'm working closely with Alice and Leila as well as Darlene on Citizen Science Day and bringing citizen science to more communities across the world.
Hey everybody, I'm Allison Young. I co-direct the Citizen Science program at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco, and I was also the co-chair of the 2015 Citizen Science conference with Leila as well, and I look forward to hopefully seeing a bunch of you at the conference in May.
I had to remember to take myself off mute. All right, this is Darlene. Thank you again for those introductions. And as I look at the names of people I do recognize, it dawns on me that most of you know what citizen science is, but in case there's any newcomers here, in general, citizen science is thought of as a way to advance areas of research with or without formal science degrees, so plenty of formal and informal research projects are in need of help from the public, and citizen science is one way to get that job done. Of course, there's a lot more better ways to define it, but in general, that's what we'll be taking a look at here today, is a way to celebrate all the amazing things that are happening with citizen science and all the great things that could happen as well. A little history on how this day came to be and why we're calling it a day when it's really a month. About this time last year, the federal agencies were working hard to push through a citizen science agenda, and working with the Citizen Science Association and SciStarter to look for, and other partners too, to look for ways to really shine a bright light on all the great things that are happening with citizen science. So we thought about this idea of having a citizen science day. And what happened was we became very opportunistic, and we took advantage of two big events already planned that could bookend this quote-unquote day, which became a month. One was the USA Science and Engineering Festival, a very large event that takes place in Washington, D.C. Over 100,000 people attend that event, and a really good opportunity to start bringing citizen science to where people were. And then the other is the celebration of the National Parks anniversary and well over 100 BioBlitzes that were taking place there. So one was happening in April, one was happening in May, and this is how it became a month. Long story short. If we look now towards our next slide, thank you. Our next slide goes into some of the development that has gone into wondering how we might be able to support and sustain Citizen Science Day so that it's a better service to more people, more accessible to lots of organizations and individuals, and from the Citizen Science Association's point of view in particular, how we might be able to cultivate networks, regional and local networks, in particular during years when we're not having a conference. So this year, in case you haven't heard, the Citizen Science Association will be hosting its annual conference in May 17th through the 20th. I encourage you to register as a member of the Citizen Science Association. There's an early bird discount happening right now. Memberships also give you discounts to the conference as well. At the conference, there will be a task force and a meetup of this task force. My colleagues who will be presenting after me are the chairs of that task force, and this is really to look at what's working, what's not working, how can we optimize our collective efforts and be of better support to the community through Citizen Science Day. We'll look at things like, what date should this be? Should it be a day? Should it be a month? How do we involve our international partners? Fun things like that. So Without much further introduction, I am going to pass this over to Catherine Hoffman from SciStarter. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Darlene. So I'm going to start today by talking about some of the resources that are available for hosting a Citizen Science Day event. So as Darlene mentioned, Citizen Science Day is really a true collaboration between the Citizen Science Association and SciStarter. So some of the resources that were created last year and are able to be used again this year, hosted on the Citizen Science Association site, is the Creative Commons logos that are used for Citizen Science Day, just like the one you see here on this slide. So there's different sizes and shapes that you can use for any promotions that you're doing, and we really encourage you to put this logo on any events or opportunities throughout this period of time. There's also a promotional video that was produced with the Crowd in the Cloud for last year's Citizen Science Day, and it's still a great video to really drum up support for citizen science. You can use it in promotions through social media ahead of time, or even play it at your event to really give people an idea of what citizen science is. There are also press releases on the Citizen Science Association site, and like Darlene mentioned earlier, ways and opportunities for more practitioner networking through the CSA. So if you're interested in that, I really encourage you to reach out to them to see how we can build those relationships. On the SciStarter side of things, we're really helping with the social media support, and we encourage everyone who's participating in Citizen Science Day to use our hashtag CitSciDay2017. If you didn't participate last year and you're curious to see kind of the diversity of what was going on, check out hashtag JustCitSciDay, and that will show you everything that was happening last year, photos, links to articles, a lot of great resources to get an idea of what you can do in the future. There's also a calendar and map and list of all the Citizen Science Day events hosted through SciStarter, which I'll show you in just a moment. And SciStarter also helps with media support for the events through our promotional partners. And we can also provide live event support. So if you're interested in having citizen science at one of your events, definitely reach out to us. My email is right there as well, so if any of these resources or partnerships look really interesting to you, please reach out and see how we can help support you. So one of the most important tools for Citizen Science Day is the Citizen Science Day list of events on SciStarter. So this is one place to have and host all of the event listings, so that when people are learning about citizen science throughout this entire period, there's going to be a lot of promotions from all these different organizations, and someone might hear about citizen science from something in their local community, or maybe a national or international post or article about this. We really want to encourage people to come to the Citizen Science Day calendar to find that local opportunity to get involved. You can easily import individual single events into the Citizen Science Day calendar, but if you also have multiple events, let's say you're hosting things throughout this whole period, definitely reach out, because we can help you import all those multiple events in a much easier way or from your own event calendar. We also export and share out these events from the list, and I'll briefly touch on how we do that in a moment as well. So once event is added into the Citizen Science Day calendar, it's mapped out here on this map. And so this is actually the map from the 2016 event. So you can see we had over 90 events throughout the United States as well as in Europe, and we're looking to even expand that more this year for our different events. And people will be able to find all these opportunities through this map or through the listing as well. So to add the event on SciStarter, you can go to this link, the scistarter.com/Citizen Science Day. You'll see a button right there to add your event in. We already have great events lined up for this year, and we're excited to have more people add their events in. When you add your event, just be sure that you've either created an account or signed in to SciStarter. This way we can make sure we track that project to your account. When you see the form, it's very basic information that you should be able to have for your event. We're asking for the name of the event, your contact information, so we can reach out with any clarifying questions, an event description, and then really importantly, including information about how to register, how somebody can register for your event. So definitely include if there's an email, a phone number that you need people to reach out to, or if you're hosting your event through Eventbrite registration, again, please add that link in there so people can find how to get involved. Like I said before, a lot of people are going to be finding this listing of events through the different promotional partners that we're working with, and we want to make sure they can get all of the information that they need right there on your event listing. And finally, of course, don't forget to add a picture for your event to really showcase what people are going to be doing. The next information we ask for in this add an event form is the type of event that it is. So we've got a lot of different categories here, and this is so people can understand your event and find the type of event that they're really looking to participate in. And I encourage everybody, if you're hosting an event that is multifaceted, for example, you're hosting a BioBlitz, but it's also at a museum and there's going to be a festival going on at the same time, definitely be sure to mark all of those off so people can really understand and find your event. And finally, including the information about when the event's taking place, the date, as well as the time. And your event, if it does last, let's say over a weekend or for multiple days with the City Nature Challenge, which Leila and Allison will be talking about soon, you can include that entire day, that entire week-long period or weekend-long period for your event. And finally, where your event is. Of course, it's very important if you're hosting an event online, let's say a webinar like this, or you're hosting a transcription or annotation event, you can mark that way. You can also include the exact address where it is, or again, like for example with a BioBlitz where you're looking at a larger location, you can include the entire range of that area. Once you submit your event, our editors will just take a quick look at it, make sure that all the information is complete and there's nothing missing, and then go ahead and approve it to be on the calendar. Once events are approved within SciStarter, we're able to help promote your event through our different partners. So we have media partners with Discover Magazine, Astronomy Magazine, the National Science Teachers Association, as well as the CitSci blog on the Public Library of Science blog network. So through this way, we can help promote your event so people are learning about it and learning about your organization at the same time. We can also help you accelerate your event and activate your event and recruit participants through our connections with the Science Cheerleaders, Pop Warner Little Scholars, and more. These media partners also help us push out blogs. So if you are interested in hosting a blog that is describing your event and your project and your organization, again, please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you to find a way to reach broader audiences about your event, even maybe after the event if you'd like to post about the wrap-up of the event and what went on during the event. We're really here as SciStarter and all these partners, we're here to support your event and help people learn about your event. So any way that we can help you do that, we would love to work with you on. We also have customizable APIs and widgets which can be used to embed SciStarter projects and citizen science onto your website. So this is a great way if your organization maybe doesn't have the resources to host an event this year, but you'd like to add some citizen science to your site so people are finding things. You can add these customizable widgets for people to find activities and topics. You can also customize what projects it shows based on maybe showing only projects that are in the US or only projects that are good for kids, for example, if you work with a lot of youth and young kids. These widgets are a great way that we also will push out your event. So soon we'll be having a way for the widget to be showing off the events as well. So this, once you add your project into our events listing, we'll be able to again push it out through all of these different partners. Like I mentioned, the widget is customizable, so just to give you an example, we work with PBS Kids in the SciGirls site, and they actually have a widget on their site that kind of uses their own skin, so to say, so it really fits within the feel of that site. So if you're looking to keep it throughout the whole year, you can do that as well, and show off the different citizen science projects and events that go on. So now that I've shown you some of the digital resources that are available for the events, I'd like to go into more detail about different types of events that can work for Citizen Science Day. And as I mentioned, we saw over 90 different events hosted during Citizen Science Day last year, and we saw a huge diversity from small local community projects and events to really large national projects. And I just want to encourage everyone to think that every big to small event is super valuable during Citizen Science Day. So like Darlene said, shine a big light on citizen science and the work of citizen scientists and really celebrate everything that's gone on. So one great event that you can do if you have a project that's more online, if you're annotating or transcribing, is a transcription or annotation event. For example, the project Mark to Cure, last year they hosted a Mark to Cure-a-thon. So during this time, they set up so people would be annotating a certain number of documents. So some tips and tricks for these types of events. Definitely make sure that you're setting an achievable goal. It's really important that during these events, people are extra motivated to be participating. So for example, with the Mark to Cure-a-thon, setting up a certain number of pages that they want to annotate during a week-long or a weekend-long event is really going to make the project and the event stand out over the background of your event or your project going throughout the entire year. Additionally, Mark to Cure did a great job of marketing the event through a blog post and pushing out and getting their community to know that they had this big need during this time. Something that was really interesting that they did that I encourage other online, mostly online projects to think about is they actually provided an in-person option for this event as well. So they hosted a Citizen Science Day Expo where people were coming together at the local library to participate in Mark to Cure. So this offered an opportunity for the project leaders to get to know the people that were participating in the project, and again for the citizen scientists to get to know the project leaders. This is another great way to reach new audiences and understand their needs by finding something like a library or a senior center or a youth center to host a small event for your project. And Ginger, who's one of the organizers with Mark to Cure, she mentioned to me as well that it's really important for this type of thing. Another tip from her was to get the event on the schedule early so that people were aware of it and ready to go for this in-person event. And finally, they offered and distributed prizes during their event. So this allowed them to recognize the people who really helped them achieve that goal during their annotation event and really shine a light on the people who helped to, annotate the right number of the goal pages or classify the most images, anything like that to kind of encourage participation throughout the event is really important. The next event I'm going to highlight are festivals, and festivals are great for Citizen Science Day. There are a large number of very big and popular events happening throughout Citizen Science Day this year. For example, the Cambridge Science Festival, the Philadelphia Science Festival, Chicago Science Festival, and Minnesota Science Festival, just to name a few. Last year, two events that I'm highlighting here are the Riverside Green Festival, which was more of a local sustainability and green festival, and then the other one is Face Topo, which was a citizen science project that actually went to one of those bigger festivals, the Cambridge Science Festival, to talk about their project. So when thinking about working with a festival, it's important to think about picking a unique location. So it can be great to integrate citizen science with a pre-existing science festival and bring citizen science to that festival, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But thinking outside the box again to reach new audiences can be really important. So you could work at a farmer's market, you could do a food truck festival, maybe a music festival, a library book sale that's already going on. Those can be different ways to, again, reach new audiences for your project and provide a unique opportunity to get involved with the community. When possible, I always think it's great to make festivals interactive. So if you can do your project right there at the booth, that is great. For example, with Face Topo, here you can see in the picture, you can actually take your scientific selfies right there at their booth. So they're letting people not just learn about the project, but actually do the project, which of course is great for the citizen scientists because they're able to contribute with very few barriers, but it also gets you a lot of data right away from all of those festival attendees. If you can't do your project right then and there, maybe it's outside or you need some more materials, making it as easy as possible for someone to contribute once they go home is key. This is a little kit put together by the Backyard Bark Beetles project for upcoming events this spring. So the kit is simple. It's a Ziploc bag, a spoon, and a piece of string. But those are three of the key materials that people need to then go and participate in that project. So instead of giving them a handout about the project, they're actually providing the materials. So when the attendee goes home, they have a lot of the stuff to go ahead and get themselves started with the project. With that in mind, it's always good to think about keeping festivals green. A lot of festivals, especially the larger ones, really ask and mandate for people to reduce the number of handouts that they're giving. So thinking about a way to maybe provide a small tool or material that's part of your project at a festival can allow you to give people information, to let them come home with more information about the project, but giving them something that's going to be used. So if you're interested in working with science festivals, a great place to start is the Science Festival Alliance. So SciStarter partners up with a number of these science festivals across the country to bring citizen science to where these people are and where people are already coming to learn about science. So there's already a handful of, actually a lot, more than a handful of science festivals scheduled throughout this year, and a good number of those are in that spring period of Citizen Science Day. So this is a great place to start for searching for the festival by the location as well as the dates. And a lot of science festivals are looking for engaging speakers and interactive hands-on events. So it's important to reach out to those contacts that are managing the festival to see how you can engage with the community, and many citizen science projects that are hands-on and ready to go are great for these science festivals. So with that in mind, I'm just going to give you a few examples of how SciStarter helps to mobilize citizen science at science festivals. And these are things that you can, we can work with you to bring to science festivals, or you can modify and use for your own science festival. So we usually feature about 3 to 4 different citizen science projects that can be done within that local area. So we pick projects that work for that local community. And we provide information about all of those different citizen science projects, and again, different materials to get people started. Here's another great example of a Citizen Science Day event that's actually coming up this year. It's part of the Philadelphia Science Festival, and it's Citizen Science in the National Park. So here we've actually bundled a lot of different citizen science protocols and projects together to bring a big citizen science influence to this festival. So participants will be able to swab copper pennies for a microbe citizen science project. And this is sort of simulating swabbing the Liberty Bell for microbes, which was actually done as part of a citizen science project. And those microbes were then sent to fly on the International Space Station. So giving people a great opportunity to engage with that project. We're going to be doing a little bird and plant census, kind of a mini BioBlitz for people during that time. We'll be making cloud observations with the NASA Globe app, highlighting the air quality bench that's installed within the park and looking at that community basis. We'll also be doing a hands-on project where people will actually be sifting through a matrix looking for tiny fossils. So with this type of festival, you can see that we've taken not just one, but about 5 or 6 different types of citizen science projects and tasks and really bundled them together. So what I would encourage people to do as well when you're thinking about Citizen Science Day is think about finding other project leaders and projects within your community that you might be able to partner up with to bring a big citizen science influence to a local community. And this will be a great opportunity to highlight your project as well as the broader work of the group as well. The next type of projects or events I'm going to highlight are nature walks. So these are great. Last year we had 2 that I'm highlighting here, the Wild Paths Field Walk as well as the Nature Up North Hike. So one thing that's great about using a nature walk or a field walk as a Citizen Science Day event is you can often build it into existing programming. So if you're looking at the calendar between April and May and every weekend is booked up and it's going to be difficult to put a Citizen Science Day event in there, think about the pre-existing events that you have, like tours or walks, and how you can build citizen science into that. It's also a great opportunity to use the walk as a training for the event. So the Wild Paths Field Walk, they actually, during the walk, were training people on how to do their project, which was looking for roadkill and making those observations through iNaturalist. So not only did they use the time to introduce people to the project, but they also trained people so they could continue participating in the project. And these organizers said that this was a great way to decrease the number of barriers in participation by really bundling those 2 opportunities together to go on the nature walk and also to be trained. And finally, these offer a great opportunity to bring a guest to your event. So if you normally host a walk or a tour on one of these weekends, you could think about engaging with a local scientist or a local educator or a local superstar citizen scientist who could come out and talk more about citizen science during your event. So this is a great way to, again, use existing programming and use ways that you're already working on engaging the community and tying citizen science in there as well. The final type of event is recognition events, and I think these are great because really, like Darlene said, we want to shine a light on citizen science. So just simply recognizing your citizen scientists during Citizen Science Day is great. That's exactly what we're looking for. So this could take the form of simply making shout outs on social media or in your newsletter to a spotlight citizen scientist for Citizen Science Day. You could also have that citizen scientist write a guest blog about their experiences and what projects they've participated in, what they've found, and what they've learned throughout that time. And again, I'll just mention that if you are interested in hosting that type of blog and you'd like to work with SciStarter to push that blog out to Discover Magazine and our other partners, Public Library of Science, again, please reach out to me. I'd really like to talk about how we can help make that happen. And recognition events, finally, you can highlight just the effort and the amazing work of your citizen scientists. So this could be, understanding the whole number of hours people have participated in the project, or it could be the number of observations that somebody has made over the entire year, and just really shining a light on all of their effort. It can be as simple as that. So I just want to reiterate again that the Citizen Science Day events are diverse. They can be big festival events where you're bringing a lot of focus on citizen science. It can be small community events. They can just be a social media campaign recognizing your citizen scientists. I want to encourage everybody from big to small to really find a way that they can shine a light on citizen science during this time period. So as we mentioned at the beginning, Citizen Science Day, we try to kind of bookend it with two great events. So this year we're bookending it with starting it with the City Nature Challenge, which Allison and Leela will talk about very soon, from April 14th to April 18th. And then it's going to be ending with the Public Science Day at the Science Museum of Minnesota with the Citizen Science Association Conference. So as you can see, Citizen Science Day is really an opportunity to be playful and creative with finding events, reaching new audiences, and partnering up with communities. We encourage you to take the time to learn about the other people in your community, the other projects, and the other leaders near you, and think about ways that you can network together. Again, this is a great opportunity to work with the Citizen Science Association. As I mentioned, we are looking at building this task force, and we would like to hear from the community about ideas for future events, ways that we can support these networks throughout citizen science, and really continue to move Citizen Science Day forward. So if you have any questions about any of that, again, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can begin to discuss more of that. So with a great big understanding there of Citizen Science Day, a little bit of its history, the diversity of events, the types of resources that are available to you, I'd like to pass it off now to Leela and Allison, who are going to focus on one particular type of event, a BioBlitz, that is a really popular event for Citizen Science Day. We had everything from really small BioBlitzes last year to the big BioBlitzes in the national parks be part of Citizen Science Day. So this is a great opportunity to engage with your community. So Allison and Leela, I'll pass it off to you.
Great, thanks so much, Catherine. So hi, everyone. I just want to start off really quick by giving you a little bit of information about how are Allison and I qualified to be giving this webinar. When I was made the Citizen Science Manager here at the Natural History Museum back in 2011, not long after I got that title, I saw that Allison Young at Cal Academy also had a title that said Citizen Science and Manager in the title. So I called her up and was like, hey, you have pretty much the same title I have. We should talk about what it's like in your museum versus my museum about what's going on with citizen science. And so through that, a friendship developed. Through that, we've been able to partner on a lot of projects together, a lot of BioBlitzes. I've learned so much from Allison, and we've got grants together, and we really just done a lot of work, and it really all culminated last year in the start of this project called the City Nature Challenge. So City Nature Challenge was a BioBlitz that happened in Los Angeles County and then also in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was basically a competition between the two cities, who could get the most number of observations. In that week, in years prior, there were about 1,000 observations total, and we were able to, through the City Nature Challenge, through this push that we had, get 20,000 observations, 10,000 for each city, and Los Angeles beat San Francisco. Yay!
Just barely.
I knew you were going to chime in, Allison. Just barely, yes. So we're hoping that the next couple slides we're going to be sharing with you will help to inspire you to try a BioBlitz, or if you've already done a BioBlitz, to add some different components to it. We're hoping to give you some skills, some new resources, and of course, Allison and I as a support network for you, and to also, again, there's a lot of people who've done BioBlitzes, and to help bring that network together so we can all learn from each other, because there's still things that Allison and I, even though we've probably done hundreds of BioBlitzes between the two of us, every time we go on another person's BioBlitz or another organization's BioBlitz, there's always some cool tips and tricks that you can get from the way other people do things. So jumping right in, what is a BioBlitz? So a BioBlitz is pretty much an event that sometimes happens over 24 hours, and it's a way to really get a lot of observations about sometimes all taxa, so any plant, any animal, any fungi, yes, and slime molds too, because I love slime molds, in a particular place. We're also going to talk a little bit later about taxon-specific BioBlitzes, so you can really just have your group focus in on something that's very specific, like snails and slugs, instead of just all the taxa in an area. But why would you want to BioBlitz? Next slide, Allison. So why would you want to, we have satellite imagery and rapid surveys can really give you a sense of what's going on with the vegetation in a park. So as you see here, there's a lot of oak woodland, chamise, chaparral, and all of these different vegetations that can be got from the imagery from a plane going above or from Google Maps. But if you really want to know if there's an endangered species or rare species in this park, there's literally only one way to do it, and that is to have the boots on the ground and get people out there looking. And so this is from a BioBlitz that Allison and Rebecca up at Cal Academy helped to coordinate. And as you can see, there's a picture of a blue dasher, beautiful dragonfly. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get that unless there's someone in that place at that time getting that photograph. And in any one time at a BioBlitz, you can get hundreds and hundreds of observations, and it will help to build a species list for the park. And as you can see, using iNaturalist, you can get this beautiful grid that can be a really helpful tool to engage people, and it's also a really helpful tool for park managers, because again, they can, if they don't have a species list, they can create a species list for their park. So 189 species were found at Shiloh Ranch Regional Park, and so now all of a sudden the management have a species list. If they already have a species list, they might be finding new species or rare species that they didn't know existed in that place, and sometimes introduced species that, again, didn't know if they were here in San Francisco Bay Area, and sometimes it's the first time we found observations for the state and for the United States. So citizen science is actually making real-time discoveries through these events. And for people, it's not just about the scientific outcomes. There's also a lot of amazing education outcomes, which is something that's been a lot less researched on the scientific, on the citizen science side of things, but more and more people are starting to do that kind of learning research. And as you can see here, there's kids and a family slowing down, hopefully getting a really up-close look at some creature, and we hear again and again from people, I'd never looked so closely. And it's really amazing, and I get goosebumps every time I hear some of the stories from the citizen scientists who participated in a BioBlitz. And that's something we really like to do at the end of every BioBlitz, go around and hear from either small groups or the entire group, depending on how big your group is, and what were your wow moments, what really struck you. And it's really amazing to hear, from the children all the way up to the adults, and what were their wow moments. Okay, over to Allison to give us a bit about iNaturalist.
Great, thanks, Leila. Yeah, so the tool that both the Natural History Museum of LA and us here at the California Academy of Sciences use for doing these BioBlitzes is iNaturalist. And so what I want to do is just kind of give you a quick overview about why we use iNaturalist, what is it, why do we think it's such a great tool for BioBlitzes, and kind of get you started on getting familiar with the platform if you've never used it before. Although the absolute best way to get to know iNaturalist is to go ahead and download it on your phone and start using it. So if you're inspired at the end of this, I definitely recommend checking out iNaturalist if you haven't already. So iNaturalist is a platform, both a cell phone app and a website, and it's based out of the California Academy of Sciences. And really what it is, it's a social network that allows you to document your observations of the natural world, to share those observations with other people, and then to also explore and see what other people have seen around you or in places that you're interested in as well. And the power of iNaturalist is really the fact that it is a social network. It's made up of all sorts of people. Anyone who's interested in nature in some capacity is welcome on iNaturalist. And so this ranges from there's professional scientists on iNaturalist. There's a lot of people that we would consider amateur experts, people who've taught themselves a lot about a certain place or about a certain group of organisms, like if you think of, like, you know, birders in your life, those sorts of folks. But it's also made up of people who are just kind of getting interested in nature. Maybe they're out on a hike and they're seeing wildflowers and they wish they knew what they were and they don't have a field guide. iNaturalist is a great tool for people who are just trying to learn more about the natural world. It's also made up of people who are just like, there's this really scary spider in my kitchen and I don't know what it is. Can you tell me what it is? Those people are on iNaturalist as well. So it really is this social network where people are sharing their observations and learning from each other. And so the way it works, I'm just going to give you an example of an observation. So this is a butterfly that was taken by an iNaturalist user, this photo. When he takes the photo using his phone, it automatically georeferences this observation. We know what day it was. We know who he is because there's no anonymous accounts on iNaturalist. It's very similar to a museum specimen where we know who the collector is, we know what day it was, we know where you found it. Except instead of a specimen, it's a photograph. So there's this evidence of this organism. And so when this guy, BJ, when he first uploaded this butterfly to iNaturalist, you can see at the very top of this kind of long comment section that he first ID'd this as an orange sulfur butterfly. That was his guess for what this species is. The great thing about iNaturalist is, though, is that you don't have to know what the species is. You could just upload this and say, I know this is a butterfly. And so you could say this is Lepidoptera. You could upload this and say, I know this is an animal. You can upload it and leave the species ID completely blank. You can leave it as an unknown, and it's still welcome on iNaturalist. But then what happens is that the community of naturalists chime in, and they start to, you can see, there's this conversation that's happening where people are saying, actually, we think it's this other butterfly, the southern dog-faced butterfly. Here are the things that I'm seeing that are leading me to this identification. And so through this community curation, basically, of this observation, what happens is there's an agreement in the community about what species it is. And at that point, it's basically turned into a data point. It becomes what we call a research-grade observation. And a research-grade observation basically just means that it kind of satisfies these general requirements where there's an evidence of the organism, which is the photograph. We know where you were. We know what day it was. And then there's a community consensus around the identification. And that's considered a research-grade observation. And all the data on iNaturalist are open for anybody to use. But research-grade observations are also shared with the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, also known as GBIF. And GBIF is basically the global repository for species occurrence records. So eBird records go to GBIF. Also, really importantly, museum specimens and university specimens that are databased also go to GBIF. And so it's this really huge global database that has a lot of historic information as well. So if I was a scientist studying a southern dog-faced butterfly, and I think maybe their range is changing from where people found it in the past to where people are finding it today, I would probably start with GBIF, where I could see where were people collecting these butterflies in the past, and where are people finding them today, including this observation that BJ uploaded to iNaturalist as well. And so I really like to think of iNaturalist as like you might just be using it to learn more about, you know, the nature in your backyard or in your local park, or using it for a BioBlitz, but it's always contributing to science because it's contributing to this global database of species occurrence records, which makes it a really powerful tool. The other great thing about iNaturalist as well, why we really like it for BioBlitzes, is that there's the ability to create projects on iNaturalist. And this is really key because you can create your own BioBlitz project, which makes a great landing page for your participants, and it's a great way to keep track of what did you guys all find together so people can see their contribution within the context of this greater effort that we all just did together. So you can see there's two views on this screen. Before your BioBlitz happens, you can put a little description of your BioBlitz, you can put a photo, you can see there's a little Eventbrite widget registration in that page too, so if you have a link to a registration, you can add that to your project. A BioBlitz project always has a place. You can see the boundary of this upcoming BioBlitz at Pier 94, the boundary is in the map there. And then what a BioBlitz project does is it basically tells iNaturalist any observations that come in from this place during the time frame of your BioBlitz, automatically pull them into this project. So people don't have to add them themselves. Basically, if they're making observations on iNaturalist during your BioBlitz, they will automatically get pulled into your project. And so as your once your project starts, your BioBlitz starts, and also after your project, the view on the right is what you see, where you're getting event stats. You're seeing how many observations have we made, how many species have we found, who's uploaded observations, and you can also see there's leaderboards. Who made the most observations? Who found the most species? What were the things that we saw the most of? And this is a really great way for people to see this big contribution of what did we all do together during this BioBlitz. And so it's another really great reason to use iNaturalist, that you can aggregate all your observations together, and it really makes this process of discovering nature very easy because you don't have to know what it is you're taking a picture of. You just have to take a picture. So people are basically slowing down, they're observing carefully, and they're just trying to find things that look different from each other, which makes it really easy for anyone to participate in a BioBlitz using iNaturalist. And so we wanted to give you guys just some examples of BioBlitzes that we've done. I'm going to give an example of a place-based BioBlitz, and then Leela's going to give an example of a taxon-based BioBlitz. And so this place, this little area here in San Francisco, we call this the Green Hare Street Corridor. It's not a real place. It's not like a park or anything like that, but what it is, it's a series of hilltop parks. It's some of the last remaining dune habitat, this really high dune habitat in San Francisco. So the top of these dunes are parks, but it's completely surrounded by houses. It's, you know, definitely very residential San Francisco. But these little hilltop parks are really important for this endangered green hair streak butterfly because their host plant lives in this remnant dune habitat. And so as this butterfly flies during its migration, it basically flies from hilltop to hilltop to hilltop as it moves through San Francisco. And so there's a lot of groups who are really interested in this place. The San Francisco Department of the Environment and Rec and Park, they manage these parks, and so they're really interested in knowing what species occur here. And then there's a nonprofit in our city called Nature in the City that's been doing a lot of restoration with the neighbors in this area, trying to create more habitat between these parks that this butterfly can land and find its host plant. And so all of these groups are really interested in getting a species list and understanding where species were in this area. So basically what we did is we asked anyone who wanted to show up. It was like 9 in the morning that we started. Everyone just showed up with their cell phone. You know, families came with like one cell phone, and all four, you know, the two parents and the two kids were all using it together. People come with cameras. You don't have to just use a cell phone. But what we asked them to do basically is we split them into groups, and we said, hey, you're going to this area, document everything you possibly can. Look for any species you can. Just take good photos. That's all you have to do. And so people went out and just took photos of everything they could find in this area. Didn't matter if it was native, non-native, plants, insects, birds, bees, any of that stuff can get uploaded to iNaturalist. And so at the end, we basically called everyone back around noon. So after like a 2.5-hour period, these are all the observations that we collected during the BioBlitz. So you can see we have a lot of observations in the parks, but also in the areas between the parks as well. We always end our BioBlitzes that we do here with what we call a wrap session, where everyone comes together in one room. It gives people a chance to upload their observations using Wi-Fi, and then they can see that stats page on iNaturalist, so they can see their observations and how many did we all find together. They can help each other with IDs in person. You know, if someone there really knows their birds or their plants, this is a great chance for people to come together and talk about what they know and help with identifications. And so at the end of that 2.5 hours, basically in the middle of San Francisco, we made over 1,400 observations of 250 species. And people are always amazed by this, that you can find 250 species in the middle of San Francisco in 2.5 hours by all of us working together. And so what this does is this gives those groups that are really interested in this corridor and helping this butterfly, it gives them the beginning of a species list that they can keep referring back to and building on. But also all these people that showed up to these areas, you know, normally they go to these parks to sit and watch the sunset or hang out and throw a Frisbee. So they've now interacted with their parks in a totally new way and to really stop and slow down and look at all the biodiversity, and it always amazes them how much you can find when you really stop and look. So it gives people this really incredible experience and a connection to their local nature that we know not just in a national park or a state park, that in their own backyard they can find things like this. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Leela to talk about a taxon-based BioBlitz.
So hi again, everyone. So we have been doing, this is the second year, we just restarted this February 1st. So we have a snail blitz. So it's focused specifically on land snails and land slugs. We have a malacologist here in the building who is really interested in finding out what snails and slugs are in and around Los Angeles. It actually goes over the entire Southern California. And this is a project that people can participate in any time of the year. However, we found that doing a push that offers some incentives, prizes, and I'll tell you about those prizes in a second, and some competition for those who are really into the competition aspect, really helped us to get a lot of observations in a short window of time. So our goal last year, as Catherine mentioned earlier, setting a goal can be really helpful. We set a goal of 1,000 observations, which was a little above what we thought we might get, but we thought, like, let's go big or go home. And we were actually able to meet that goal. And we had 45 species of snails and slugs that were observed, and we had over almost 200 people. It says 185 right here, but we have people can submit to the project via social media, so they can hashtag SnailBlitz on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we have work study students and volunteers who help us to mine that data and then put it in through our into iNaturalist through our Nature in LA count, which you can see has 169 observations on this slide right here. So we had some prizes, again, to incentivize this, and we had a lunch with our curator of malacology and a behind-the-scenes tour of the malacology collection as the grand prize, and then some free tickets to our museum for all the other prizes. And next slide, you can see here are the 1,000 observations. Allison, thank you. So here's the over 1,000 observations throughout Southern California. As you can see, there was a big focus in and around the LA area, and then quite a few down in San Diego. One of the biggest iNaturalist users, what we call the power users, BJ Stacy, I think he's one of the iNaturalist users who has the most observations anywhere in the world. He lives down in San Diego, and so he got involved and excited about finding snails and slugs down there, and now is actually has a relationship with our curator of malacology, and they met for the first time. They'd had lots of interactions over iNaturalist, but they met for the first time just last week at a event that our museum put on, and they gave each other a huge hug. And as soon as I heard this, I got goosebumps, and it's so amazing to see how this community kind of forms, and these relationships with scientists go from something that's happening online to in real life. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about how the social media engagement can really help to you know, augment the BioBlitzes that you might be putting on, whether they're taxon-based. Maybe you don't want to do snails and slugs. Maybe you want to do fungi and slime molds. Maybe you've got a fungus expert at your location. But social media can be a really great way to get more people engaged. As you can see, Cal Academy had a Facebook event for our listing for their McLaren Park BioBlitz. It got shared 23 times. Lots of people heard about it and were able to know, and hundreds of people showed up to that BioBlitz. Like I said before, for our Snail Blitz, we were using Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as a way to get people engaged. We had, you know, some really amazing photographs submitted. The one on the top left is the winning slug photo from last year from a food stylist who lives in Los Angeles. And they actually ended up, you know, through Instagram, we found each other. They posted an amazing picture of a snail. Our malacologist went to their house, and it turns out it was the first time that snail had been found in the entire state of California. It was an introduced species, and no one knew it was here. But because someone had taken a picture of a snail and cared, and then it got tagged to this project, our scientist was able to go out to their house, and now they're getting published as a co-author on that paper. The picture of the hummingbirds, that's Moby. He's a famous musician. He got engaged in our City Nature Challenge. And we also were lucky enough to have our mayor, Eric Garcetti, make a video with us to get people to participate in the City Nature Challenge last year, and that got shared over 38,000 times, which is a lot for our museum. We don't get that many shares most of the time, and so it was really amazing. And he also downloaded iNaturalist and started using it right there on the spot, and took a picture of a snail that we found in City Hall Garden. So that was pretty amazing. And I think that don't be shy. Use social media. It can really help to augment knowledge about your event, getting people to come to your event, and then showing the results of the event in real time, and then after the fact, what are some of the significant findings that you have? Okay, Allison.
All right, so finally, since this is our last slide, and we'll have a little bit of time for questions, and we can also stick around longer if people have other questions about either Citizen Science Day or BioBlitzing. I have a resource that I'm going to make available to you guys that we made here at the California Academy of Sciences with our partner Nerds for Nature, which is a great all-volunteer group that first started doing this style of BioBlitz with iNaturalist. That basically we created what we called 10 steps to BioBlitz. It's basically the 10 steps that we go through when we're getting ready for a BioBlitz, and it just has some tips about, what do we mean, what should you do, things like, how do you find partners, like what do you need to, if you're going to do a rap session at the end, make sure you have good Wi-Fi, things like that, just things to remember for a BioBlitz. And so I will both stick this into our little chat box in just a second, so you can, it should be available for anyone once I put the link in there, that you're welcome to download, or if you didn't get it through this, you're welcome to email me, and we can stick it up as a resource on the Citizen Science Association Citizen Science Day website as well for you guys to use. Basically, if you're thinking about holding a BioBlitz, hopefully this can help you just think about the steps to go through to get ready to host your first BioBlitz, or you've done it before, maybe your 10th BioBlitz or your 20th BioBlitz, whichever one. And so with that, I think this kind of concludes the content portion of our webinar about Citizen Science Day /month, as well as how to host a BioBlitz. And so we have a few minutes. And I know that most of us can stick around a little bit longer, so this is a chance. If you do have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask any of us a question, or you can type it into the chat box. Go ahead, and I will paste the link to this 10 Steps to BioBlitz in the chat box if anyone wants to jump in and ask a question.
Allison, I just wanted to mention, which I totally forgot to say, so City Nature Challenge this year is going to be not just LA versus San Francisco, it's also a bunch of other cities, and we had a phone call with a bunch of people from Texas, like the entire state of Texas apparently is in on the City Nature Challenge. Shelly, who's on the call today, from Miami, people from Chicago, people from Philadelphia, so many cities all over the U.S. So it's, again, not going to be just LA versus San Francisco, but multiple cities from all over the United States. Find out if your city's participating, make sure you get your observations in, and then next year in 2018 our plan is to take it international, and so we will have this be the City Nature Challenge, but it will be all over the globe, and hopefully we'll get some partners in. We definitely will have our partners in London participating, but I'm hoping to get some other really large cities like Tokyo involved. Obviously the Australian Citizen Science Association is pretty active, and maybe Diego, we could get you guys involved down there south of the equator. That would be amazing.
All right, so I see really quickly there's a question about the BioBlitz wrap-up. Are there issues with Wi-Fi bandwidth at the location? I can imagine people being frustrated with slow upload times. So the great thing about iNaturalist is that you can use it completely offline. You can make observations completely offline. You can upload using your data plan, and it automatically shrinks the size of your photos if it recognizes that you're on your data plan and uploading that way. It doesn't actually take very much data to upload. And so kind of the default on iNaturalist is to actually do this automatic upload in the background while you're making observations using your data plan. We try to have this wrap session so that, one, we can show the project and like what we all found, as well as people who are really worried about using their data to give them a chance to use Wi-Fi and upload their observations in. So we try our absolute best to go and test the Wi-Fi ahead of time with as many devices as we possibly can. We do definitely have issues sometimes with Wi-Fi getting really slow when you have a lot of people trying to upload at once. People have been generally pretty understanding of this issue. It does happen because obviously in some places you're just not going to get great Wi-Fi, especially if you're out in a park somewhere doing a BioBlitz. And in that case, we basically just ask people to upload when they get home. And then what we'll do is we'll send out an email. We do this no matter what, but we'll send out an email a few days later being like, hey, look at all these things that we found, like this number of observations, this many species. Hey, if you haven't uploaded yet, make sure you upload your observations to add to this and get IDs and things like that. And so we definitely recommend testing your Wi-Fi at your RAF location, but let people know that using their data plan actually does not take very much data to upload to iNaturalist. And if people are really worried about it and the Wi-Fi is not working well, just ask them to upload when they get home.
And I'm just going to add that we sometimes take a Wi-Fi hotspot with us, and obviously some places don't have Wi-Fi, so having the Wi-Fi hotspot can really help. But again, following that follow-up email and showing how many observations have been submitted so far really helps to inspire more people to kind of, oh, I want my observations to be part of this larger effort.
Yeah, in the past as well, just add one more opportunity if the Wi-Fi is completely out of the question, is to provide a little guide with like the screenshots of how to upload it. So I've done that in the past. It just shows exactly where people need to click when they go onto that desktop version if they do, take their camera and want to upload it that way. So people who may need to leave the event right away, just hand them a little packet and they can be on their way. So it's a good another reminder for them to upload it.
If anyone else has any other questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask or type them into the chat.
I'm going to see if, I'm not sure if Austin is still on the line. Austin, if you're there, do you want to say a couple of words about some of the transcription events that you've organized in the past? It's hard for me to tell if he's still there.
I don't see his name under the attendees anymore.
That's a really creative way of getting people to get involved in events who might want to do things from home, but also want to meet up with others who are also interested in taking that first step forward and getting involved in citizen science, and they're very comfortable with more online projects. But I think he posted a link up here. Yeah, WeDigBio.org. It's a good resource to check out for those types of events as well. Oh, it's right here. Anybody else? Questions or concerns? We can, yeah. Oh, that's a good question. That sounds like Allison and Leila.
Yeah, so how to get identifications done by power users. So, I mean, IDs can be done by anybody on iNaturalist. You don't have to be a power user to get IDs. So we try to encourage even the BioBlitz attendees, if they have some knowledge about, plants and animals, to help each other with IDs. A great thing to do, though, is that, if you do have power users in your area, which you can find by actually looking at iNaturalist and looking at your area and seeing who are the top observers in your area, either they might already see those as they come in and start identifying them. It's a great thing to do to reach out to them ahead of time and see either one, if they want to come to your BioBlitz, or two, we do this with our power users as well as with our scientists at the museum. We say, hey, we're having this BioBlitz. You don't have to come if you can't make it, but if you could, jump online maybe around like 11:30 today, 11:30 to noon, 11:30 to 12:30, and do some IDs for people, that would be great. That way people are getting basically feedback right away, which people really love to see, that by the time they've uploaded some observations and they get back to the RAP session, it's wonderful if they've already had at least one ID done for them. If not, the process of IDing doesn't have to happen just in the BioBlitz window. IDs happen on and on and on in iNaturalist. Years from now, you can have people going back and IDing observations that you made to help update the species. But it's a great thing to reach out to your power users or other scientists or taxonomic experts in your area, let them know you're having a BioBlitz, and just say, hey, if you just want to jump in and provide some IDs, even just a few would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, so for us, because we've been engaging with our iNaturalist community for a fair while, we have a sense of who are our power users, and we have specifically invited them to events. So figuring out who your power users are and inviting them to some of your BioBlitz events or to like a planning meeting beforehand would be really helpful. We literally had this one citizen scientist iNaturalist user called Cedric Lee. He's an undergraduate student at UCLA, and he was really excited about the City Nature Challenge and wanted to put together a document of how to get the most efficient way to get the most number of observations when you go to a site. And he was like, is that okay? Can I do that? I'm like, oh my gosh, please do that. Also, I want to know, and the fact that you're teaching other people on iNaturalist is so much more powerful than me teaching other people on iNaturalist. And he was one of the top contributors to the City Nature Challenge that year, and really helped some other of the power users. They were all sharing tips and tricks, and that was a really, I think, powerful thing. So as much as you can, try to meet the people in real life, and they get really excited about their observations and their work being honored. And so I think that you can do a lot of that online, but I think there's nothing quite as powerful as meeting in person. And now Cedric is, a research associate here at the museum, and literally brings in snails and is doing DNA analysis of snail mucus that he's collecting for us. Takes weird turns sometimes, the citizen science rap.
Yeah. Awesome. Libby, do you want to jump in a little bit and talk about the transcription event? And I wonder how Rebecca, are you still on the line, or does somebody have access to be able to give Libby voice?
Hi, this is Rebecca. Well, it's not, it's Dan. Sorry.
Are you able
She
to?
just have to unmute herself, I think.
So what would you like done?
Okay, we're trying to get Libby, Libby's mic hot so she can speak.
It should just be her computer. She's currently allowed to speak through the program.
It'll be your computer. That's all right. It happens to all of us. There's a mute button there. There's an icon for a mic. At least this is what I'm seeing next to the chat window. If you click on that, it might unmute your mic. And while we're waiting for Libby, does anybody else have any questions or comments? This was fun. I know I learned. All right, it's connecting to audio. That should help. I know I just learned a lot about iNaturalist and the BioBlitzes. That was pretty fascinating. I do hope to see you all at the Citizen Science Association conference. If you're not able to make it out there, we'll talk about ways to include you in conversations like this as we start to think about ways to shape future Citizen Science Day events as well. And Libby might still be connecting to audio. Oh, that's a good question. Allison and Leela, what other kinds of blitzes? I mean, I saw a comment come in from Connie at Globe at Night that talked about ways they were able to do some light pollution surveys tied in with some of the BioBlitzes in the past. I don't know if they use the same tool, if it's still iNaturalist, or how that data gets merged out. But this is an interesting question coming in from Barbara about how they might integrate groundwater with some of these BioBlitzes. Any thoughts there?
This is Allison. Yeah, so I mean, iNaturalist is just for organisms or evidence of organisms, and so they wouldn't be able to go up onto iNaturalist. But I could totally see, like, you could totally do like it's not really a BioBlitz, but you could do like a I don't know. I can see the question about the hydrological citizen science. So I don't know. I haven't looked at Crowdwater, so I don't know exactly what it does. But I could see, having like a water quality testing blitz where you try to get a whole bunch of people out all on the same day, like to get a snapshot of your water, the quality of your water across like a broad region, or whatever it is else that you're testing, as a way to kind of mobilize people and get people excited. Like, how many streams can we test, or like how much data can we gather, all on this one day? Like, get out to your local stream and here's your kit and things like that. And so I can see that you could definitely use the BioBlitz model as but for your own specific thing. The data just wouldn't be able to go up onto iNaturalist because it's only living, it's only organisms basically that go up onto iNat. I don't know, Leela, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, so it's very similar. We run a program at the museum on-site and off-site every other month called Citizen Science Meetups. So every month we choose a different, either a place to BioBlitz or a different project to kind of participate in. And so we had a partnership with Earthwatch, and we had about 50 people come to the museum and do a tree tracker project. And so it was basically following the exact same model as our BioBlitz. We start inside with a little bit of training, and instead of telling people how to use iNaturalist, we're telling people how to, you do the DBH measurements of a tree and how to collect the number of leaves they need, and how to put them in the bags properly and label them so the scientists can then do the analysis later. And then we go outside and do the data collection, and then we come back inside and have, like Allison said, a wrap session, and usually we always have food. So that same model of introduction, natural history information, plus the skill that you're about to employ, go outside, collect the data as a group, come back inside, debrief, have a look at some of the communal data that you have, whether it's physical specimens of leaves in this case, or on iNaturalist in the case of an iNaturalist BioBlitz, or if it was crowd water, like having all the water samples all in one place, so you can see the collective effort, and then kind of going around and doing what was your wow moment, or what was something that really struck you from the day. That model can be adapted to any sort of project very, very easily.
Right, and there's a great description. Another benefit of doing things like that, especially if you have tools or sensors or any kind of material, it's a very efficient way to distribute that material and collect the samples that you're looking to get. We've done that with some microbe collection events, and the conversion rate of people who actually collected information and provided it to us when we did it at events like that was much higher than we tried, hey, call in or write us and we'll mail that kit out to you. Far more efficient and fun. All right, Libby's probably wanting to jump out of her skin right now with a lot of stuff to share with us. There may be ways to. All right, well,
it looks like in the chat she put her email down if anyone has questions. Looks like she's still having a hard time connecting to the audio. So if you go into the chat, if you do have questions about transcription events, Libby put her email in the chat, so you can definitely ask her if she can't actually jump on with audio.
Right, and there's a good reminder in here about a sit-side chat that SciStarter does with Karen Cooper. And today's topic, this is a busy day, Catherine. Today's topic is about the term of citizen science. For anybody who wants to jump on there, just follow that hashtag. And that's at 2 o'clock, so it's about almost 45 minutes. What do you think, gang? Anything else?
I think that it's great, and I'm excited to see that we're like 30, almost 40 people on the call, and can't wait to see other people hashtagging their BioBlitzes and their finds on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and just seeing where this goes, and then also getting to meet people at the Citizen Science Association conference in May will be really great.
Mm-hmm. I almost forgot that you two co-chaired the last one. You did such a fantastic job. It's a lot of work, I'm realizing.
It was a lot of work, yeah. All right, so bye, everyone. It was lovely.
Take care, Leila. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Thanks for hosting us, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.